The man merely sat cross-legged and took a simple breath. Yet it made the world's top grandmaster tremble in his very soul. Those disciples who had trained for 2.5 years could last only 30 seconds at best. But this newcomer somehow held his breath for 2 full minutes. As a result, he mastered true Qi in just 5 minutes, something others would need years to achieve. And even scarier, the first time he used true Qi, he blasted a high-level beast into dust. Yet just a month ago, Xuejing had been nothing more than a weakling. An unexpected accident had thrown him into a world strikingly similar to Earth, and it even activated a system within him. After that, as long as he trained, his attributes would permanently increase. Even simply appearing on campus would make countless senior and junior girls wildly overthink things, causing his charm and looks to rise nonstop. At that moment, a tennis ball shot straight toward his head, but at that speed, catching it was effortless for him. He turned toward where it came from. It was clearly intentional. When his buddy Li Gu ran over, Xuejing asked if he knew the group on the court. The moment Li Gu took a proper look, he nearly spat out his breakfast. Because he recognized the guy, it was none other than the school bully, Pei Youguang. He figured it must be woman trouble again and told Xuejing he should just find a girlfriend already. Xuejing replied that he wasn't interested and headed to the gym. Li Gu warned him that the bully wasn't someone to mess with. Working out alone wouldn't help. For others, training might barely make a difference, but for Xuejing, it was different. Ever since he arrived in this world with his system a month ago, he had been getting stronger every day. As long as he trained a skill to a certain level, he would unlock its corresponding special ability. Although his daily training gave him huge benefits, it consumed a lot as well. When he opened the fridge, he found it completely empty. Helpless, he changed his clothes and went out to buy food. He wasn't working this hard just to show off. It was because he had learned that the place he lived in was called the Fifth Urban Circle. Inside the circle was a prosperous metropolis. The farther out one went, the more barren and desolate it became. With only half a year left before graduation, Xuejing had to fight hard if he wanted to climb into that inner circle. While he was walking home, a small black cat suddenly darted out of an alley. Seeing the wounds on its body, he figured it must have lost a fight. But just as he reached out to touch it, the cat suddenly collapsed onto the ground. Then the black cat spoke. I never thought the world of stray cats could be this cruel. Hearing a cat speak human language startled him badly. When he crouched down, he noticed an iron ring attached to its tail. The moment he touched the ring, a system panel suddenly popped up, detecting divine substance, absorbing divinity. Over the past month, he had learned more about this world called Juxia. 287 years ago, the god of this world died. On that day, every human across the globe witnessed the terrifying spectacle. Since then, a saying had spread everywhere. God is dead. Humanity stands on its own. And Xuejing's goal was to use his system to become a new god. After bringing the black cat home, he first served it a bowl of cat food. But when saw the cat food, it showed extreme disgust. Combined with the fact that it could speak, he suspected it might not be a cat at all. Thinking that, he walked into the kitchen. As he picked up the spatula and started cooking, his cooking attribute rose continuously, just like always. Soon, a fragrant plate of shredded pork with green peppers over rice was ready. The moment the little black cat smelled it, drool gushed out uncontrollably. The little black cat didn't care about the heat and grabbed the food with its paws, stuffing it into its mouth. Seeing this, Xuejing felt certain. This cat was probably a human turned into a cat, and the cause of it all might be the iron ring attached to its tail. Before he could think further, the system notified him that the divinity extraction was complete. It then asked whether he wanted to activate a skill called Twin Life. After reading it, Xuejing chose yes without hesitation. The next second, the system confirmed successful activation. It felt as though a droplet of water melted into the center of his palm. Checking the skill description, he saw that its passive effect granted him 2 lives. After death, he could freely choose a resurrection point within 7 days, with a 3-month cooldown. He thought, if the passive ability is already this broken, the active one must be insane. But when he checked the active skill, he found that it required 500 divinity to unlock. So for now, all he needed to do was continue absorbing the cat's divinity. However, upon a closer look, he noticed many wounds on its body. Continuing to drain its divinity suddenly felt a bit inhumane to him. So he decided to think of another solution later. Still, he couldn't just leave the cat alone. He turned on the home surveillance, then prepared to go out to search for clues about divinity and to see what the little black cat would do when left alone. After he closed the door and left, the black cat quietly withdrew its smile. Here, entering the inner circle from the outer circle was extremely difficult. Even if someone managed to get in, they had to pay an outrageous fee, enough to bankrupt a moderately wealthy outer circle family. Yet countless people still tried everything to squeeze their way inside. But most people didn't know there was another method: becoming a martial artist. Just as Xue Jing thought of this, a bald man suddenly blocked his path in a narrow alley. Xue Jing looked up slightly and asked what he wanted. The bald man said their boss, Pei Yoguang, had his eye on a girl who dared to give Xue Jing water earlier that day. But before he could finish, he was hit by something invisible and flew backward. When he landed, no one around had seen what happened. The next moment, another lackey dropped to the ground. Within just 3 seconds, the entire group was down and unconscious. The weapon Xue Jing used was nothing more than ordinary pebbles from the ground, combined with his powerful arm strength and his aiming skill. After all the small fry collapsed, their boss, Pei Yoguang, finally charged out, accompanied by the faint phantom of a wolf behind him. But his movement path was completely exposed under Xue Jing's aiming skill. Xue Jing simply shifted to the side and easily dodged the attack. Missing the strike, Pei Yoguang shattered the wall behind Xue Jing with a single blow. In that instant, Xue Jing realized Pei Yoguang actually practiced martial arts. So this was the source of his arrogance. And Xue Jing happened to need someone to ask about martial arts anyway. Thinking that, he turned and slowly walked toward Pei Yoguang, leaving the latter stunned. After a round of friendly communication, Pei Yoguang trembled and admitted defeat. Xue Jing had thought he would be strong, but after all that build-up, he ended up having only a single move. The aiming skill didn't just boost Xue Jing's dynamic vision, it greatly improved his punching accuracy. As long as he caught the gap between Pei Yoguang's moves, one punch was enough to break his technique. At the same time, he also unlocked a new skill called combat. After several exchanges, Pei Yoguang was beaten to the point where he couldn't even stand. Xue Jing stepped forward and asked what technique those punches he used earlier belonged to. Pei Yoguang stuttered and said it wasn't a technique, it was inner force. Hearing that, Xue Jing asked what inner force was. Pei explained that inner force was gathering the body's meridian energy and releasing it through moves. Xue Jing then asked how to train it and who he should learn from. Pei Yoguang said he only learned the basics, and even those were trash level, so he couldn't explain. Xue Jing grabbed him by the collar and said, "Someone who smokes, drinks, dyes his hair, commits crimes, and acts like a gangster at school is calling himself trash?" Terrified, Pei admitted those were all rumors, self-made for character branding. After he finished, Xue Jing rewarded him with a big, loud slap, the kind Pei loved so much. Then he ordered him to write a reflection and read it 10 times during morning study tomorrow. Finally, he handed Pei his phone and told him to enter the martial arts address. Xue Jing planned to go ask himself. After this fight, all his stats improved tremendously. Normally, an hour of hard training in the gym only raised his fitness stat by 200 points. Now, a single fight gave him several times that. More importantly, he awakened a new skill, combat. Looked like he'd have to fight more often. Following the map, he arrived at a place called Golden Bell Dojo. As soon as he walked in, the front desk lady told him to keep quiet because the master was teaching. He looked inside and saw several people sitting cross-legged on mats. At the front, a white-haired elder was explaining. The so-called breathing method activates internal strength through breath control. Only by circulating one's chi fully can one truly begin the martial path. Hearing it was an entry-level technique, Xue Jing's eyes lit up. This was exactly what he needed. He quietly asked the receptionist if he could join in. When she leaned closer and saw how handsome he was, her face turned red. She said he could, but not to push himself. With her permission, he sat down on an empty mat. Then he followed the elder's instructions and practiced along with the others. After the explanation, the elder told them to tighten their core and inhale. The disciples followed. The receptionist silently cheered for them. She thought if no one performed well today, she might get fired. But after barely 30 seconds, everyone began to falter. Even the person the receptionist had the most hope for gave out at the 35th second. Seeing the master walk toward her, the receptionist panicked, begging him to give her a few more days. She promised she would find good candidates. But when the elder reached them, he simply walked past her. Instead, his gaze landed on Xue Jing, who was still steadily inhaling on the floor. At that moment, Xue Jing felt the breathing method sounded simple, but doing it was extremely difficult. With so much oxygen rushing into the lungs, anyone without enough lung capacity wouldn't even qualify to practice. Fortunately, with his boosted attributes, he could still hold on, but the accumulated true energy inside him felt like it was about to explode. Finally, when the system notified him that a new skill, inner force, had been activated, he stopped inhaling. The moment he opened his eyes, the elder rushed over to ask how he felt, and the receptionist asked whether anything felt wrong. Xue Jing replied that not only did he feel fine, he actually felt refreshed. Hearing that, the receptionist hurried over, grabbed his hand, and asked his name and whether he wanted to join their Golden Wind dojo. But right then, a flash of red light flickered outside the window. A black shadow broke through the glass and crashed onto a student. Once everyone saw clearly, they realized it was an insect-like monster. The entire room was stunned, but the elder reacted quickly, shouting for everyone to evacuate. The monster noticed their intention. It immediately lunged toward the receptionist, who stood closest. Luckily, Xue Jing rushed in time, grabbing her and dodging to the side. At that moment, her heart was pounding wildly. She even wished she could stay pinned under Xue Jing forever. Because of her reaction, his charm skill increased by another 20 points. Looking at the monster, he recalled what Pei Yoguang had said. Inner force meant gathering all the energy within the body's meridians and releasing it outward. This was the perfect chance to test it. Before he could think further, the monster turned and leapt toward him with explosive speed. Instead of backing away, he stepped forward and threw a punch straight at it. The shock wave alone blasted the surrounding tables and chairs into the air. Judging from its appearance, he wondered if this thing could also endure 300 times its body weight like a cockroach. If that was the case, pouring all his chi into one punch wasn't the right move. So he immediately adjusted, condensing all his chi into a single point. The concentrated force shattered the shell on the monster's forearm, and the system alerted him that he had awakened a new skill, Inch Force. The monster couldn't withstand the impact and was sent flying. It only stopped after crashing into the wall behind it. Xue Jing withdrew his chi, patted his shoulder, and said the thing was much weaker than it looked. The receptionist, having witnessed everything, was completely mesmerized. But the elder saw the truth. Xue Jing had only just learned chi control, and releasing that much at once was far beyond what his body could handle. The monster quickly recovered again, rising with its other foreclaw raised. Xue Jing didn't take it seriously and gestured for it to come. But just as he attempted to gather chi again, a mouthful of blood burst out uncontrollably. His chi collapsed instantly, and the monster didn't wait. Within a blink, it was right in front of him. His expression changed drastically. He knew this time he had pushed himself too far. Suddenly, a streak of white light flashed across the room. The monster was sliced into pieces before his eyes. When he looked up, he saw a white-haired girl standing there. She introduced herself as Voidblade, captain of White Crow Squad 838, and declared she was taking control of the area. All unrelated personnel were to evacuate immediately. It was his first time hearing about the White Crow Squad, but judging by her strength, The organization was filled with monsters in human form. After all, she had taken down that creature with a single strike. On the other side, Voidblade was also sizing Xuejing up. She thought he looked only 17 or 18, yet he had injured a cockroach man barehanded and was ridiculously handsome on top of that. She had to find a reason to recruit him. With that in mind, she stepped forward, handed him a slip of paper, and said, "Sunday at 5 p.m. If he went to the address on it, she would tell him everything he wanted to know." After she left, he unfolded the paper and saw the words, "Qingchang Library, 7th floor." On his way home, the receptionist kept following him, asking if he was really okay and suggesting he come to her place for a proper checkup. He politely refused and hurried home. Watching his back, she shouted that he must come again tomorrow. The elders sighed, saying such talent was far too rare. This kid had touched chi for the first time and already displayed such power. Their small dojo likely couldn't contain him. As he continued home, system notifications popped up one after another. His fitness and wellness EXP surged, and both charm and combat increased as well. But what he cared about most was the skill inch force. Based on the fight, he understood its essence, condensing chi into a single point and accelerating it instantly at the shortest distance, enough to break through almost any defense. The sensation was amazing. He wanted to feel it again. But the moment he tried gathering chi, his blood churned violently. He immediately stopped, barely avoiding spitting out more blood. Remembering the elder's warning, he decided not to push his luck. A full night's rest was necessary. When he reached the bottom of his apartment building, he saw a faint light coming from his home. Checking his phone's camera feed, he saw the little black cat he brought home frantically typing on his computer. Once he entered, he asked it directly what nonsense it was doing on his computer. The black cat broke into a cold sweat, but still forced out a soft meow. Exhausted from the battle, he decided to sleep first and settle the matter after waking. He collapsed onto the bed without even taking off his clothes. The black cat on the floor caught the faint scent of blood on him. It instantly realized he had been fighting someone. Then it extended its sharp claws, cursing silently. That's its human. Who dare hurt him? Do they have a death wish? Finally, unable to contain its curiosity, the cat leaped onto Xuejing's stomach and demanded he explain what had happened. It even claimed to be Ning Fengwan, the sect master of the dragon sect, and told him to speak freely. It would stand up for him. Xuejing replied calmly that he knew all along it was a person, but he was too tired to care and simply went back to sleep. By the next morning, he had fully recovered, his stamina restored. After hearing his explanation, the black cat stuffed food into its mouth and asked, "So he wasn't beaten. He actually defeated a monster?" Xuejing said yes. Hearing that, Ning Fengwan fell into deep thought. It had never heard of such a creature appearing in the city. While it pondered, Xuejing stroked its head and said, "Thank you for worrying about me, Wan'er." Hearing him call it Wan'er, it froze for a moment before its little face turned red. Then it turned away angrily, insisting he call it Sect Master. Chuckling, Xuejing pulled up yesterday's surveillance footage and asked if it could now explain what exactly it was doing on his computer. Seeing he had footage, the cat was startled. Then it flicked its tail and said the item was a divine relic called the Cattail Ring. It was researching it yesterday. Hearing that, Xuejing lifted its tail and examined it, saying, "So this is the legendary divine relic." According to the information he found, after God died 287 years ago, the golden particles that burst forth became the origin of divine relics. He had only heard the stories before. Today, he finally saw one with his own eyes. No wonder the system absorbed divinity when he touched it. Ning Fengwan blushed and asked how long he planned on squeezing its tail. Xuejing let go and asked whether it was researching how to use the cattail ring. Ning Fengwan said no, it wanted to take it off. The Dragon Sect was the largest gang in Qingcheng, controlling entertainment businesses and working with martial halls on medicinal trades. Its rapid growth had attracted jealousy, so it was attacked in its own villa. The attackers forced the divine relic onto it, turning it into a cat. After escaping with great effort, it discovered the Dragon Sect had already been taken over. Now its goal was to remove the divine relic, return to human form, and tear those people to pieces. After hearing its story, Jing asked what it planned to do next. Since nothing could be found online, go to the library probably wouldn't help either. Ning Fengwan said it already had a plan. Jing had to train in martial arts and become stronger. Jing then asked what that had to do with removing the cattail ring. Ning Fengwan explained that once Jing grew strong, various organizations would naturally come looking for him, and among them there would definitely be holders of divine relics. By following those people and digging along the trail, he would surely find a way to remove the cattail ring. So the top priority now was to get him into the best dojo. Jing asked which dojo it was talking about. Ning Fengwan asked if he had ever heard of the Hidden Dragon Dojo. Jing was stunned for a moment, then said he had, of course. Back when he'd wanted to learn martial arts, he had checked the tuition fees of every dojo in Qingcheng, and the Hidden Dragon Dojo Ning Fengwan mentioned was the most expensive of them all. It was also the one with the most negative reviews. But Ning Fengwan said those reviewers were all useless weaklings who couldn't handle even a little hardship, so they had no right to talk about martial arts. In the real martial arts circle, no one looked down on Hidden Dragon Dojo. Then Jing asked how he was supposed to get in. Ning Fengwan raised its little paw and said he should follow the old martial world rules and challenge the dojo. Jing was shocked and asked whether they would really accept him after he went there and wrecked the place. It turned back and said Jing really lacked common sense. Challenging a dojo was basically just an interview. Disciples in a dojo were also ranked. Those who joined by paying tuition were useless if they had no talent. Even the talented ones needed real strength. People who took 8 or 10 years just to become competent were of no value. In martial arts, mentality was crucial. Only someone with an invincible spirit could throw an invincible punch. And challenging a dojo was a form of self-recommendation, the best way to prove one's spirit. After reminding Jing to show up tomorrow, it leapt onto the window frame and said it had things to do. The next day, following the map, Jing arrived at the Hidden Dragon Dojo. As he entered the hall, someone came forward to greet him and shook his hand. Jing felt the man slowly tightening his grip. Was this some kind of test? If so, he had to take it seriously. He gathered his inner energy into his palm. With a slight squeeze, he pried the man's hand open. The sudden pain made the man yelp and beg for mercy. Others hurried over to explain he was a martial fanatic who wanted to spar with everyone, and told Jing not to mind it. While they were all laughing, someone suddenly shouted that the old master and several direct disciples had arrived. Jing turned to see 2 men and 2 women pushing a bald old man into the hall. And more importantly, Ning Fengwan was among them. After entering, they asked if Jing was here to challenge the dojo. After confirming with Ning Fengwan through eye contact, Jing answered firmly, yes. Hearing that, the old master's face darkened. He said it had been a long time since anyone dared challenge his dojo, and asked if Jing thought he was qualified. Jing glanced at his stat screen and said awkwardly that he wasn't sure. His combat skill levels seemed pretty low. Suddenly, the old man released a powerful aura and asked for his name. Jing told him. Then the old man asked his age, 17, and proceeded to ask where he lived, what his parents did, whether he was an only child or had siblings. Cold sweat dripped down Jing's back. Why were the questions getting stranger? It felt like a matchmaking interview. Seeing his embarrassment, the old man burst into laughter and said not to worry. Since he might become his son-in-law, he had to ask more questions. Jing stared blankly at Ning Fengwan and asked what was going on. Ning Fengwan blushed and quietly said it had no idea. A girl stepped forward and said the question of qualification should be settled with a fight, adding that she would go easy on him. Seeing this, Jing also took a fighting stance and gestured for her to come. Beside him, Ning Fengwan puffed her cheeks and muttered, saying this was basically a matchmaking meeting. Why was he still fighting? Zhu Shaning dashed toward Jing in a single leap. Seeing she was truly about to strike, Ning Fengwan couldn't help worrying for him. But the moment Zhu Shaning stepped forward, Her movements were already fully locked onto by Xue Jing's targeting skill. Before she could even throw a punch, he had already dodged. In an instant, he seized her wrist and executed a clean, over-the-shoulder throw. Zhu Shaning didn't even understand what had happened before she fainted on the spot. Behind them, Chun Fu Wang praised him, saying his dynamic vision and grappling accuracy carried the same flair he once had. Li Qi laughed loudly and told Ning Fengwan she had indeed found a remarkable talent. After the system notified Xue Jing of increases in various attributes, he asked the old master whether this counted as passing the challenge. Li Qi said that despite never training in martial arts, Xue Jing defeated Zhu Shaning with ease, clearly qualified to be a direct disciple. He added that it was time for Xue Jing to adopt a new form of address. Hearing this, Xue Jing's eyes lit up. He stepped forward and greeted all the senior disciples. They warmly called him seventh junior brother and introduced themselves one by one. Zhu Shaning eventually got up, introduced herself as his sixth senior sister, and said she only lost because she underestimated him. Xue Jing bowed deeply to thank her, thinking she must have been the youngest before he arrived. Then a young lady approached, calling him Young Master Xue, saying she would take him to complete his registration. Xue Jing asked why she called him that. Li Qi explained that as his direct disciple, Xue Jing could not be looked down upon. From today on, he was considered an inner ring household name, so Young Master was appropriate. But Xue Jing felt Young Master Xue was awkward and asked if she could change it. After thinking briefly, she began calling him Lord Jing. While registering, Xue Jing told Ning Fengwan that challenging the dojo didn't seem as difficult as it had described. Ning Fengwan replied that he was wrong. Zhu Shaning was actually much stronger than him. But martial arts weren't just numbers. State of mind, information, and even luck could all influence the outcome. From Ning Fengwan's explanation, Xue Jing finally understood. It truly was Zhu Shaning who underestimated him. Ning Fengwan said yes. If that girl had been even a bit more cautious and waited for him to strike first, the outcome would have been different. But a win was a win. Nothing more to say. Hearing this, Xue Jing thought he won mostly by luck and decided he needed more training. He then asked where Ning Fengwan had gone last night. Surely it didn't stay in the dojo all night? Ning Fengwan said of course it did. Whenever someone important entered the fortress-like dojo, it had to greet Grandpa Li. It even added that Grandpa Li had almost made its grandfather wear green back in the day. As they talked, Xue Jing's registration finished. The young lady handed him a card, saying it was his ID pass, and he just needed to swipe it tomorrow. Her face reddened as she spoke, and his charm skill increased by another 20 points. The next day, when everyone arrived at the dojo, they found Xue Jing already training. They whispered among themselves, saying they heard he had trained here the entire night. After this long session, his inner energy rose to level 2. Seeing his exhaustion, Li Qi stepped forward and told him not to stop. Just a little more, and he'd break through. Otherwise, the night's effort would be wasted. Watching his inner energy experience surge, Xue Jing gritted his teeth and kept going. Shortly after, inner energy broke directly from level 2 to level 3. When the upgrade notification appeared, he collapsed to the ground, unable to continue. Li Qi crouched down with a cheerful smile, saying he had taken many disciples in his lifetime, and Xue Jing was currently the strongest among them. He added that before long, Xue Jing would be able to learn the hidden dragon-style techniques. Hearing that there were actual techniques to learn, Xue Jing instantly perked up and asked what level he needed to reach. Li Qi told him to hold his hand. Puzzled, Xue Jing still obeyed. The moment their palms touched, Li Qi suddenly exerted force, sending a massive surge of inner energy into Xue Jing's body. Xue Jing couldn't resist any of it. After Li Qi released him, he asked what exercises Xue Jing normally did. Xue Jing said mostly running, and asked whether Li Qi sensed something wrong with his body. Li Qi said nothing was wrong. Rather, Xue Jing's body felt as if crafted by a god with obsessive perfectionism. Every muscle, every bone, every organ was balanced and flawless to an alarming degree. Simply put, Jing was a martial arts prodigy. He knew it had everything to do with his system. Ever since activating the combat skill, his body had changed into what it was now. In a sense, he really was a genius. He then asked Li Qi whether he could start learning the technique already. Li Qi told him not to rush. Since he trained all night, his body was covered with injuries, and practicing now would be no different from suicide. Hearing this, Jing asked what he should do now. Li Qi said to head to the resting room, and he would have someone bring him sleeping dragon ointment. Following his master's instructions, Jing went to the resting room. Before long, his sixth senior sister, Zhu Shaning, knocked and entered, holding a bottle of medicinal balm, saying she was there to treat his injuries. Seeing her, Jing froze, wondering if she was here to take revenge. She walked closer and told him to take off his shirt. With the situation as it was, he could only obey. She glanced at him and immediately teased, didn't expect junior brother to be this well-built. As she said this, his charm skill increased by another 45 points. After he lay down, Zhu Shaning climbed closer and began applying the ointment onto him. Jing broke into a cold sweat, but she shot him a mischievous smile and told him not to move. She continued applying the ointment. He realized her hands were surprisingly strong. Many scenes in between were better not shown, and knowing people didn't like such vulgar details, he skipped over them himself. After she finished applying the balm, Zhu Shaning admitted she only lost because she was careless, yet still wanted to get back at him and use this as an excuse to tease him. She apologized to him for that. Jing said he wasn't angry, just that her pressing was a bit painful. Meanwhile, his charm experience continued rising nonstop. After finishing his upper body treatment, she squeezed out more ointment and told Jing to take off his pants. That shocked him. He quickly stopped her, saying he would handle that himself. She only giggled, saying she was teasing him. Then she casually tossed the ointment aside, humming a tune as she walked out of the room. After leaving the dojo, Jing felt sore all over. He had almost been taken apart by that woman. Still, both his combat skill and inner strength had leveled up. With some free time, he headed to the library for his appointment. The name White Crow Squad sounded a bit edgy, but it was probably just Song City's Special Operations Unit. Soon, he arrived at the library written on the note. Looking around and seeing no one, he was about to leave, when a blonde girl walked up, greeted him, and introduced herself as Wu Yuqing. Jing then asked her where Void Edge was and why he had been invited to such a place. Wu Yuqing said Void Edge was only her informant who referred candidates to her. Of course, they couldn't meet at the Special Ops Bureau. She added that she had been skeptical at first, but the moment she saw him, all doubts vanished, so she asked him to join their team. Hearing this, Jing sat down and asked her what made her think he should join. Wu Yuqing asked Jing, wasn't he very interested in the matter of divine relics? Hearing that, he immediately perked up. After all, he had never mentioned this topic himself. Seeing his reaction, Wu Yuqing realized her guess was correct, and then asked how he first learned the concept of divine relics. Not knowing her true background, Jing stayed cautious and answered, no comment. She said it didn't matter. If he couldn't provide information, that was her problem. As she spoke, she poured him a cup of water from a bottle. She pushed the cup toward him and told him to try it. Jing took a sip. After putting the cup down, he said it was just plain purified water. Wu Yuqing didn't respond. Instead, she poured the remaining half bottle into a transparent pitcher. Then she poured him another cup and told him to taste it again. Curious despite not understanding her intention, Jing did as she asked. This time, when he drank it, he was shocked. The water had become sweet. She then said, God died 287 years ago, and the scattered points of light released at the moment of God's death. We call those particles the blood of God. These drops of God's blood can settle into objects, living beings, or even fragments of human imagination. Anything inhabited by God's blood becomes a divine relic. The sweet water kettle in her hand, labeled with the serial number GOD 1567, is one such relic. After hearing this, Jing reached out and asked if he could take a look at the kettle, saying who knew if she had simply added sugar to it. The moment he touched the kettle, his system popped up a notification, absorbing divinity. With that, unlocking an active skill was within reach. Holding the kettle, he pretended to be curious and asked what other functions it had. Since the water became sweet without sugar, could it also boil water out of thin air? Wu Yuqing said he was almost there and told him to guess again, thinking to herself how adorably inexperienced this boy looked. After observing for a moment, Jing said the water inside didn't seem to decrease. Was it infinite? Soon, his divinity value reached 500 points, meeting the requirement to unlock an active skill. Hearing his words, Wu Yuqing smiled and asked if he understood what that implied. Jing said that if this was true, then the kettle ignored the world's natural laws. It essentially reached the concept of a perpetual motion machine, something capable of overturning fundamental cosmic rules. Was the inner circle's endless power supply related to this thing? Wu Yuqing told him not to overthink it. Divine relics symbolize the unreasonable and cannot be replicated by human means. Jing immediately asked her why she was telling him all this. She said that 3 days ago, he defeated a monster as an ordinary human and showed no fear towards such a terrifying existence. On a mental level, he had already surpassed most people. That was why she wanted to invite him to join them instead of the Divine Relic Containment Company. She handed him a business card as she spoke. Jing took the card, hesitated for only 0.01 seconds, then put on a sincere expression and held her hand. He said earnestly, "Big sis, please let me join your team. I'll follow every order, my dear big sister." A company that handles divine relics. He would get rich for sure. For now, divinity could only be obtained through divine relics. Just the passive skill Twinborn was already ridiculous. If his active skill turned out to be even more unreasonable, no one in this world would be able to defeat him. Watching him daydream, Wu Yuqing thought this little guy really looked like someone who had never seen the world. Then she took a sheet of paper from her bag. Take a look at the contract first. If everything seems fine, sign here. Jing read it carefully. It was no different from a standard employment contract, except for the added confidentiality clause. Did this job involve danger? Wu Yuqing explained that divine relics were categorized by danger level, A, B, C, and D. As a newcomer, he would only receive D-level assignments. As long as he followed procedure, there would be no danger. Only after he grew stronger would real danger be involved. He asked her about A-level assignments. She chuckled and said he didn't need to think about those yet. Relics of that level weren't something an individual or even a single company could handle. Government agencies would step in. He asked his final question, "Why choose me? Even if I've come into contact with a relic, it doesn't mean I'm qualified." In his mind, he wondered. She didn't know about his system panel or his martial training. How could she rely solely on Void Edge's report? Something felt off. Wu Yuqing brushed her hair aside and said, "You're wrong about one thing. It's not you touched a divine relic, it's that the divine relic touched you." Jing asked in confusion what she meant. She patiently explained that divine relics possessed a certain degree of will and would actively approach people who attracted them. And among humans, a small number could naturally attract divine relics. She herself was one of them. And Jing happened to share the same constitution as her. Offering him such a salary showed her sincerity. He pondered for a moment. So he was actually that impressive. No wonder they were eager to recruit him. He then signed a contract, saying, "Honestly, the salary doesn't matter. I'm mainly just like divine relics." After signing, he handed the contract back and said with a grin, "Please take care of me from now on, big sister." Wu Yuqing happily accepted the contract. Pleased to work with you." Jing stood up and left. To him, the Sanglong Dojo and collecting divine relics were already enough to keep him busy. He probably wouldn't have time to return to school anytime soon. He took out his phone and messaged Li Gu, asking him to request leave on his behalf. Li Gu agreed without hesitation. He thought to himself, Even after 10 years of working, he might never reach a monthly salary of 200,000. What mattered now was improving his strength. Only by becoming stronger would he have any hope of returning. Walking along the outer ring road, he opened the system to check out his new active skill. Twin Life LV1. Divine Essence required to level up. 502/1 passive. Grants 2 lives. After death, he may freely choose a resurrection time within 7 days. Cooldown, 3 months. Active, locked. Unlock condition. Divine Essence 502/500 available. Divine Incarnation, locked. Unlock condition. Divine Essence 502/2000 and reaching LM10. The system asked whether he wanted to activate it. Xuejing activated it immediately. Divine Essence unlocked. Twin Life active. For each LM level, he may assign one body-related attribute to gain double effect when activated. Options: memory, physical strength, movement speed, focus, physical defense, reaction speed, calculation ability. Looking at the choices, he thought, if he picked physical strength, wouldn't that give him double strength when using Twin Life? But since he already had a resurrection shield, doubling defense wasn't very useful, and he was naturally tanky. His primary attack method relied on aiming, not raw strength. Speed beats everything, so he chose movement speed. He needed a baseline comparison to see how strong the skill really was. It was about 100 meters to the street lamp. He ran once to test his normal speed. The next second, he dashed forward. He was indeed noticeably faster. Soon he stopped. Not bad. If he activated the skill and ran back, it should be even faster, probably. He took a starting stance and activated Twin Life. This time, he shot out like a missile. He reached the end at twice his previous speed. The Twin Life skill was insane. For an ordinary person, improving a 100-meter run from 20 seconds to 12 seconds was still relatively achievable. It only required a period of intense training. But after that, improving even 0.1 seconds would require 100 or 1,000 times more effort. Without talent and resources, it was nearly impossible. Suppose Xuejing were in a life-and-death close-quarters fight where even the slightest mistake couldn't be allowed. Once he activated Twin Life, the burst of speed, defying instinct and common sense, would be completely unpredictable. It was a skill capable of instantly finishing an opponent. Thinking of this, he clenched his fists in excitement. This was Twin Life, ignoring physical laws, surpassing bodily limits, a divine skill that broke the rules. He decided to try it a few more times while his body was still warm. But just as he prepared to activate Twin Life again, he noticed the cooldown. It couldn't be used anymore. He calculated silently. From activation until now, only about 20 seconds had passed, meaning he'd need to budget every use carefully. Who knew when it would recover? Feeling drained, he decided to go home. After training the whole day, his entire body ached. A bath and sleep sounded perfect, but the more he walked, the weaker he felt. Before he even reached home, he collapsed in the stairwell. He had no idea how long he slept until a sudden ringtone woke him. He sat up and looked around. Checking his phone, he realized he had been asleep for 6 hours. Only then did he fully register. Why the hell was he sleeping in the stairwell? He checked Twin Life's recovery. By this calculation, each second of usage required 1,000 seconds of cooldown. If fully consumed, it would take 6 hours to restore. Just then, a message from Zhu Shaning popped up. Little junior brother, why aren't you here for training yet? Xuejing panicked and rushed out. Crap, I overslept, I'm late. He soon arrived at the Songlong dojo. He pushed the door open with a loud bang. Zhu Shaning was helping his student stretch. Seeing him, she greeted, 7th junior brother, you're here. She quickly jogged over. Pulling over Xuejing's sparring partner, she said, perfect timing. Let's do a demonstration match and show them the proper way to use force. The students whispered among themselves. Who do you think will win? Obviously, Zhu Shaning last time just slipped up. The junior brother just started learning. There's no way he can beat her. Hope senior sister goes easy so she doesn't break him. Xuejing looked at Zhu Shaning, who was secretly pleased with herself, and thought, again? calling it a demonstration. She clearly just wants to regain her pride. She definitely won't underestimate me this time. He took his stance and said calmly, Senior's sick sister, please guide me. It was the perfect chance to test his skill. He immediately activated Twin Life, aiming to catch her completely off guard.
Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.